You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. This is Will Parker, host of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast, along with my co-host, Jen Schwanke. And we want to welcome you to something new that we're doing that we call Monday Matters. And we decided that for this first episode of the new year, we wanted to explain what Monday Matters is, because Jen, you and I have been talking about this for a long time. Before Christmas break, we've been having these conversations really all the way back to the fall, but this is the fruition of that. So Monday Matters, I'll start first and feel free to fill in the blanks, is an opportunity for you and I to just share some of the current happenings that are going on with Jen Schwanke and Will Parker and Principal Matters. Also, because we have so many guests that we interview in advance, sometimes we have them recorded months in advance, we wanted listeners to be able to hear some current feedback from you and me. That will include some of the things maybe you and I are both doing in terms of our work or training or feedback, but also sometimes you and I get these golden nugget moments where we're like, man, I just learned something this week and I really want to share it. I don't want to wait till you hear me and Jen talk about it 5 months from now. So that's what Monday Matters is going to be, is an opportunity for us to do that. So so having said that, let's talk a little bit about, as we're stepping into January, what are things looking like for you? What are things looking like for me? I don't mind sharing what's going on with Principal Matters, but I'd love to hear some of the new things happening with Jen Schwanke too.
Right. And I'm so glad about this idea. And listeners, this came from Will, like he said, in the fall. We want something that's that can capture our thinking. Will and I are both very fast thinkers. We both have journals. We both write things down. And many times they're lost because the content of our regular episodes is a little bit longer and we dive a little bit deeper. So, oh gosh, what am I thinking about now? I think we have to keep an eye on legislation right now. There's a lot of things going on at the federal level, and we have listeners from all 50 states. So many states are really feeling anxious right now with their legislation. And so I don't think we should dive specifically into any one state's issues, but I think we could talk about how principals can stay the course in times of uncertainty. The other thing I'm thinking about is AI. I just said to you a couple of hours ago, well, we have to talk about AI. We have to talk not about any particular vendor or strategy, but we have to talk about how principals can be prepared for this, how to communicate with communities and students about AI. And my goodness gracious, we have to learn about it ourselves. So that's something I want to talk about. I think in a lot of ways, we're not evolving in education fast enough to keep up with what our students know. So I'd like to talk about use of technology, personal communication devices. So there's a lot. There's a lot on my mind. And you know, it's only January 6th. It's one Monday. I can't overwhelm our listeners, but I'm telling you, people, there's going to be some good content here. So tune in on Mondays.
Yeah, and me too. I want to have some conversations about things like, what's the difference between impact and impression? Because sometimes I really struggle with, how do you measure that you're making a difference? I want to talk about some of the tension that I've heard from leaders. When do you have those crucial conversations, and when do you frame your language around your highest performers? Because there seems to be tension around, like, knowing when to have those hard conversations. And I also want to just be able to share some feedback that you and I are learning as we interact, as we're doing, whether we're presenting or whether we're training. I want to be able to share some of the feedback from some of our books. I want to share some of the feedback from my newest book, which is going to be Whose Permission Are You Waiting For? An Educator's Guide to Doing What You Love, which is not released yet, but it's under reviews, and that will be something that will be coming out hopefully in 2025. So yeah, Jen, those are the things that I want to really focus on in these conversations. And Principal Matters listeners, we just want to invite you to recognize that there's no law around how often you listen to podcasts, or which ones you skip, or which ones you share with friends. But just so you understand where we're going, on Mondays, we're going to be doing Monday Matters like this, just some current feedback from Jen and me. On Wednesdays, we're going to continue our flagship shows, which are the interviews, the Q&As and the interviews that Jen and I do with amazing leaders across the U.S. and the globe. And then on Fridays, we're going to be dropping encore episodes so that you can hear ongoing content, but content that's been around for a long time, because we have more than 400 episodes now, more than 1.5 million downloads. So there's a lot of retired, it's not really retired, archived episodes that we can pull back now, that in man, talk about the opportunity to keep learning. I do have a request for listeners, and that is really the only way for us to, we've always grown our audience. I don't even know how it's grown, but we have a very loyal listenership. And by loyal, I mean, like, if you look at our downloads, typically between 1,000 people to 1,500 people are downloading our podcast when it's first released. Over time, there may be 2,000 or 3,000 downloads, depending on how popular that one show becomes. So if you think about that in the vast number of leaders that are out there, that's a small community. But if you think about it in the terms of how many students are reflected by that many leaders, that's a lot of schools and a lot of people that are collaborating together around this content. And I've just discovered that the best way for that influence to grow is when people share it with their friends. Mm-hmm. So you can subscribe and like and review this show, which makes it pop up higher in the algorithms that exist out there that I don't really understand. But you can also share it with a friend. So if you know a leader, an aspiring leader, a veteran leader, somebody that you think would benefit this year growing through conversations around school leadership, then forward the show to them and invite them to subscribe. And then give us feedback, because your feedback drives what we talk about and helps us to know what we need to bring to the show, and in ways that we need to be staying connected with people who may speak to those things that Jen and I talked about. You may know people out there that have a lot to say about those topics that we just brought up.
So if you have a 20-minute commute, Monday matters. If you have a 40-minute commute, tell your friends. The flagships on Wednesday. And if you have a friend who's a little bit behind, tell them to tune in on Fridays, because that's the encore episode. See, we are a one-stop shop here at Principal Matters. Well, this is good. This is going to be a good, fun run.
It is fun. Well, I'm going to say this, since we're at the top of the month and I'm looking at my calendar, because I may be able to connect with you throughout the coming month, but this is going to be a really exciting time for the work I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of virtual training, Jen, that I'm continuing with friends across the U.S., but I'm also going to be in person at the SAMS annual national conference in Miami on January 15th, 16th, and 17th. So if you're attending that conference, I would love to connect with you. And then my friends in Alabama, class, they are hosting some assistant principal conferences on the 22nd of January and the 28th of January. And so if you're going to be attending either of those conferences in Alabama, I would love to see you face to face. So don't ever hesitate to reach out, because when I travel, if you want to connect with me through my email at will@williamdparker.com, man, I'd love to grab coffee. I'd love to have a meal. I'd love to just see you. So feel free to reach out to me. And Jen, I always like to wrap up by reminding people how they can find us and our resources. So how can people stay connected with you?
Yep, they can stay connected to me at jenschwanke.com, and I will be in Utah in next month, actually, speaking with their elementary principal association. So if you're living in Utah and listening to us, I'll see you in February.
Yay! All right. Well, friends, thanks for tuning in this week as we describe what you can expect from Monday Matters. And until next time, thanks for doing what matters. We'll talk to you again soon. Find free resources like this one at williamdparker.com. Subscribe for our free weekly newsletter, which contains bonus material, and also check out the links for Grow Academies, Masterminds, Executive Coaching, and Keynote presentations from my books, as well as from Principal Matters Associates. You can find out more under our speakers tab at williamdparker.com. Thank you for learning together, and thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.